Hi, today I am talking about what is self-concept and what are the stories that you need to be telling about yourself in order to get what you want. So stick around. I'm Hedley Derenzie and I am a qualified life coach, adult educator, and author. I'm also passionate about changing the stories we're telling ourselves, about others, and the world around us using the powerful teachings of the law of assumption as originally taught by the wonderful Neville Goddard, because it is the stories that we tell that create our reality. So if we want to change our life and our realities, then we need to be able to change our stories. And to create a better quality life, then we need to be telling better quality stories. So that is what I am here for, and that is what I love doing. If you would like further support, I am available for one-on-one coaching and also email coaching. My contact details are in the box below, so feel free to reach out and let's get started. So today I'm talking about what is self-concept and essentially what are the stories that we need to be telling ourselves in order to get what we want in life, in our reality. So this is such a big topic. I'll probably do more videos on this. It's something that I'm working with every single day because once you realize just how important self-concept is, then you realize how much attention it really does require, especially if we have a negative self-concept. So self-concept is really the beliefs, the thoughts and the beliefs that we have about ourselves. I say stories because it is the thoughts and beliefs that create stories, and the stories are really just embedded beliefs that we have. And often we don't even know the stories that we're telling ourselves, and we're having reality reflected back to us, not realizing that it's actually our consciousness and the stories that we're constantly saying and telling ourselves that are getting reflected back. Because these stories are so buried within our subconscious, they've been there for such a long time. So part of this work with law of assumption and these teachings is to really look at what is our self-concept, what is the quality of our self-concept, and then asking ourselves, do we need to change some of those stories that we're telling? Certainly in my case, I have been really working hard on changing my self-concept because I realized once I started to get into these teachings that I had a really quite a negative one, especially when it came to relationships, because that's my weak point in life. That was my weak point. I'd like to say that because I'm changing that story. So let's go back to basics. As to where our self-concept came from. And of course, as most of us know, most of this shit starts when we're young, often when we're not even conscious that this is even happening to us, because as probably, I think it's up to the age of 7, our brains are very much in the subconscious. We haven't developed the conscious mind yet. So everything that's coming at us just gets embedded. We are like sponges as kids. So depending on the quality of our upbringing, and I say this with compassion because often our parents, they weren't given healthy stories to tell about themselves. So their stories got embedded. They carried those through life. Then they had kids, and then they just simply passed those stories on to us. So it's really nobody's fault. This is not a blame game. But it is important to identify that often a lot of our stories and the self-concept that came from those stories were given to us at a very young age by well-intentioned adults. And it's not just our parents, it's also our teachers or other guardians, anyone that had a kind of a role to play in our life during those early stages of life will have influenced our self-concept. And those stories. So often with a lot of shitty self-concepts, they involve pretty similar stories, and probably the most common story that a lot of us can relate to is the story of unworthiness. I'm not worthy of love, I'm not worthy of attention, there's something wrong with me, I'm inherently unlovable, no one wants me, that's a pretty shitty story. It is a shitty self-concept, and it is actually quite a common one. It certainly the self-concept that I had due to my history and upbringing, which I will not go into because there's no point to it. It's an old story. It no longer is real. But I certainly had a self-concept where I believed that I was unworthy of love, I was unwanted, I wasn't enough, I wasn't good enough. And what that does is then with that self-concept, you find that you don't even know you had it because it was given to you from such an early age. And then as you go through life, that just becomes like the normal story, and then reality gets reflected back. And you kind of you're fighting against your own reality. You're reaching out and trying to change things that you don't like, not realizing that it all stems from our self-concept. So if you are new to these teachings, if it's a situation, a relationship with an SP that's brought you here, whatever the situation is, my biggest piece of advice with this is to just go back to your self-concept and start there. And what is often the case is we can have different self-concepts for different areas of our life. So you might have a positive self-concept in relationship to money or work, and a really shitty self-concept when it comes to love. So what you want to do is to go back and look at the self-concept that you have in all the areas of your life. And if you want to know the quality of your self-concept, you can just look at the quality of that area of your life and go, is this all working out favorably? And am I getting everything that I want in this particular area of life? If the answer is no, then chances are you need to go back and readjust the self-concept that you have in relationship to that topic. But for me, because my biggest wounding and I guess area for improvement is around love and relationships. So that tends to be what I focus on most. So if we're looking at love and relationships, if you are not in the desired outcome in relationships, and that could be that you're single, or you could be in a relationship that is unhealthy or that you don't like, or you're kind of on off with somebody, just any situation where you're not getting what you want in that particular area of your life, it's most likely because you don't have a great self-concept. So the stories that you're telling yourself about yourself in relationship to that person or gender, and even the whole topic of relationships is quite negative, and we need to change that. So some of the very standard beliefs that I have been working with is I just go back to, I kind of look at my reality as feedback. So I will look as an observer at my reality, and I'll be like, okay, what is reality telling me about myself? So here this person's showing up as hot and cold. So there's a belief within me that I'm not worthy of love, that I'm not worthy of consistency, that I'm not worth people showing up for. So I kind of look at it as a very objective. I'm not looking to blame. I'm not looking to kind of go into where did this all come from. I'm just looking at it very objectively. I'm looking at my reality and go, okay, this situation is not favorable. What is it telling me about the stories I'm telling myself? And then what I do is I write them all down, and you might want to do this on a piece of paper where you split the page in half, and I will write on the left-hand side all the beliefs that reality is telling me that I have about myself in relationship to that. So I'm unworthy, I'm not good enough, I'm not deserving, I'm unlovable, I'm not wanted, I'm not chosen. You know, there's a lot. It sounds shitty, huh? It's even shitty to say it. And then what I do is I go on to the right-hand side of the page and I flip it. It's as simple as that. It really is. It is that simple. What starts to get tricky is then holding the new story of I am worthy, I am deserving, I am lovable, I am wanted, I am chosen, I am receiving all the love and attention that I want and deserve. Once you write that story, that then becomes the new story, and then the work is about holding the new story, and often it's holding the new story in the face of the old story, in the face of the old reality, because that's still showing up, and there's a lag time between the old story and the new story in our realities, because our reality hasn't caught up to the new consciousness yet, because it's not yet embedded in the subconscious, if that all makes sense. So now that you know that you've had a shitty self-concept about yourself and you've now changed it to the new story, that then becomes the new mantra. That's the new story that you're telling yourself. That's the new story you're telling others. That's the new story that you live with on a day-to-day basis. And yes, there are days where that gets hard and you don't feel like that. it doesn't matter. You keep going with the new story. The alternative is the old story, and that we know is a shitty one. So we don't want to go back to that. We want to keep embedding the new story. I am and I am are the most powerful statements. So I am worthy, I am lovable, I am deserving, I am wanted, I am chosen, I am enough. I am in the relationship that I desire. Whatever it is, you start telling yourself the new story about yourself, and you just keep telling it. And you don't have to be obsessive about it. That just becomes, perhaps when you wake up in the morning, you remind yourself of that. And then when you go to bed, you remind yourself of that new story. You might, if it floats your boat, you might want to sleep with those affirmations running on some kind of track at a very low volume, so that your subconscious picks up on it while you're asleep. That's actually something that I do. And that just is the new story that you start telling yourself. It's simple, but not always easy. So it is simple from going from the old story to the new story. It's simple. You're just changing the thoughts that you've been telling yourself, not even knowing that you're telling them. And you start telling yourself new thoughts. And keeping in mind, with all of this, you do not need to believe the new story. That's not what this is about. What we're doing is we're just repeating the new story, telling ourselves the new story until it gets embedded in our subconscious, which it will over time. We don't know when. And then eventually that will start getting reflected back in our reality. And you can always use your reality as a gauging point to kind of go, how am I going with this? And the thing is, with self-concept, it never ends. You are always working on your self-concept and strengthening it. And keeping in mind, no matter how old you are, you probably had a little bit of a negative self-concept for quite some time. So the self-concept work is something that no matter what is going on in your life, you will always be working on and always reinforcing that new story, because stuff can happen and we get triggered, and but if we have the foundation of the new story, we can really the bounce back time becomes a little bit less. But it's something that we're always working with, and I would encourage you to always be working with in some way in your daily life. That's all I wanted to talk about today. I hope you found this video enjoyable and perhaps even useful. If you did, then please feel free to share it with family and friends. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to my channel, you know how to do that. And I will look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.